Okay, there are 3 yes votes. Mayor Pro Tem Reese Raber, Councilmember Gibson, Councilmember Davis Holmes. 2 no votes, Mayor Deere, and no vote by Councilmember Santorina. So motion passes. So now this item is not taken off the table, and neither of the other commissions. They really weren't asked for. But I will make ex officio appointments at this time. I'm going to appoint John Graber as ex officio member of the Veterans Commission. I'm now appointing Loris Bell as ex officio member of the Veterans Commission. I am now officially appointing Dr. James Whitmore as ex officio member of the Veterans Commission. Thank you.
Mr. City Attorney,
Mr.
City Attorney,
the next
I'd like some clarification on these ex officio members, and I thought the body.
At this time, Councilwoman Davis Holmes, you're not recognized.
Well, please
you
recognize
will be
me.
in a few minutes.
And not before we move on to this, off this agenda and your ex officio appointments. I'd like clarification on it because you are under the impression.
Let's go to the City Attorney to answer Councilman Davis Holmes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the Council. Ex officio members are essentially non-voting members of a commission. They're no different in reality to a member of the public who attends the commission. The mayor is, by municipal code, the ex officio member of all boards, commissions, and committees, and our practice has been to allow appointments to ex officio members of boards, commissions, and committees as long as we understand that they have no voting right, and they would participate in the meeting, and they don't count towards a quorum, and they don't otherwise have any greater participatory rights than members of the public do. They're ex officio.
Our practice has been to allow ex officio appointments. This can go forever. How do we change it?
You adopt a policy that says no ex officio appointments without either no ex officio appointments or no ex officio appointments without approval of the entire council.
Thank you. I'd like to bring that back at the next meeting.
Okay.
I'd like to bring it back.
Are you complete?
Yes.
Okay. It's very interesting. That's an extremely vindictive act. These citizens are simply asking to serve the people of Carson as a participant with the Veterans Commission. By blocking their official regular membership appointment, you prevent them from being eligible to be counted toward a quorum, prevent them from being able to be the chair or an officer in the committee, and you really prevent them from being basically to get a stipend if they were to get a stipend. But you know what? You can't stop them from participating. So if you have a policy or no policy, as the Davis Holmes dictatorship run by the former mayor before me, that's exactly what's formulating, and everyone in Carson can see this happening. The 3 of you are extremely vindictive and nasty because this Veterans Commission is doing nothing but good for the people of Carson, nothing but good. And for you to block the 2 vacancies and to stop Dr. James Whitmore from being an ex officio member, I've talked to him today. He has dialysis on the day of the meeting. That's why he can't attend the meetings. He has kidney dialysis. And you want Dr. Whitmore to not be an ex officio member? Shame on you. That is just ridiculous. You don't know what you're doing. And then Loris Bell, she wants to be on the Veterans Commission. You won't let her be a regular member. Now you're trying to stop her from being an ex officio member? That's ridiculous. Now, after Dr. Whitmore and Loris Bell, John Graber. To stop John Graber from being a member of the Veterans Commission when he's a veteran, he just wants to serve the people of Carson, and some member of this council says, he's my friend, he's my friend. That is absurd. I've never seen a city council as dysfunctional as this. Lack of teamwork, lack of cooperation, lack of unity. On things like this, we should all work together. It's okay to be disagreeing on items, but to be so disagreeable about your disagreeing and to be vindictive to stop the Veterans Commission from doing their work, that is just a sad state in Carson. We're going to take a 5-minute recess.
I have Mr. Mayor, I'm waiting. See, he only lets himself speak.
Okay, we can
doesn't let us answer.
Order. We don't have to. Do we have to vote on a recess? No, we don't.
We call this meeting back to order. I make a motion to call this meeting back to order.
Yeah, I
Second.
second.
All in favor?
No business conducting when it's not in session.
We still have business.
The council, a majority of the council can.
Thank you.
Bring the commission, bring the council back into session if there is a quorum to do so.
And it's a quorum.
It's a quorum.
It's a quorum. Okay, I'm calling this meeting back because, you know what? Our mayor is calling us dysfunctional, sitting here calling us names. He's not giving us any rights to say our piece. And it's about time that we speak out. You know, I do want this, John Graber and Larry Bell to be on. He does these things to make a wedge between the council members and these citizens who are willing to serve. We want them to serve, but he's got to give us a chance to go out and speak to these people before he makes all these decisions. How dare him call us names up here? How does he know who
Meeting
the
is
friends
officially
are?
called back to order.
The meeting it has been in order. I'm telling, and don't
for the
disrespect
record,
us,
you have the
please,
floor.
please. As a matter of fact, I'm willing to go ahead and make an ex officio out of these two people, and I'm telling you, well, they already are, and I'm willing to have them do this, but I still think I have a right to go speak to them and speak to the chair of this commission. You know, we are not vicious and vindictive like our mayor says. As a matter of fact, he is the most dysfunctional mayor I have ever seen. He doesn't work with all of us. He doesn't even try. I think we need to work together. There is no I in team, Mr. Mayor. You have to work with all of us. It isn't right for you to try to just have one side and not hear the others, and call a recess when we're trying to still discuss this just because you've had your say. How dare you? So, anyway,
That's where we are.
I'm proud to have these people as serving on our commissions, but I do know that the commission can function with the members that they have as long as they have a quorum there with the members that are present. So, anyway, I disregard everything that the mayor said because it isn't true. He doesn't know how to treat people, and he treats everybody like we're nobody, and we really are someone. Everyone in this world is someone, regardless of what he says. And if he calls anybody names like hypocrites, which I've been called, and he said most of us would be going to hell if we, the hypocrites, he would be the first one in line. So I'm sorry about that. And how dare you say that I'm not a good friend? I am a friend. And John Graber and Lois Bell, they know that I'm a friend. And Mr. Whitmore, they know it. True friends know who their true friends are. Thank you, because actions speak louder than words.
Yes, I have.
And I agree with that. I'm the next one to speak. If you
you
were a true friend,
I would
you would
put you
support
before
him to serve on the commission. Mayor Pro Tem Reese.
That's your opinion.
If you're a true friend of John Graber, you would not
That is
block
only
his
your
appointment.
opinion. I'm sorry,
Well,
that's
you know,
your
I mean,
opinion.
actions speak louder than words.
Yes, they do.
Right.
And
Order in the chamber. Order in the chamber.
Okay, well, let's go on to
Order
the
in the
next
chamber.
subject.
Mr.
Now,
City
so-
Attorney,
So when you talk
Call for the question.
order in the chamber.
I thought I was queued up before
Now-
you came back.
He was.
I was queued up.
If you talk about actions speaking louder than words, this is a prime
the
example.
Mayor Pro Tem still has the.
As a-
We-
Still
we
have the floor.
We have,
I did not finish speaking.
oh, yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
And I was next in the queue because you had
Yeah.
left.
So at this point, I'd like
Order in the chamber. Okay, the mayor pro tem finished speaking. Councilwoman Davis Holmes wanted to speak, but I actually had the floor at that point.
No, you didn't. You left.
Order in the chamber, please. Now, be respectful. Okay.
Yes, actions
If-
speak louder than words.
Please, the interruptions are just really undignified.
Mr. Mayor,
Very unbecoming.
Councilwoman Davis
So at
Holmes,
this point, order in the chamber. Order in the chamber, Councilman Gibson.
Mayor Pro Tem. after
Okay,
her
at this
speaking,
point, we
Councilwoman was in the
had
queue next.
Mayor Pro Tem, but the deer's name is not on the queue. Can't you figure that out? Look.
You left.
Look at it.
You left, and then she was.
Maybe you didn't see me
in
come
line.
back, but I did come back. You might not have seen me coming back, but I did. I've been sitting
I
here.
didn't see you at all.
So this type of petty bickering is sickening. to say the least. We just really, all I'm trying to do, and I'm going to explain it one more time, all I'm trying to do is to help the Veterans Commission have 2 more regular members. At this point, I did appoint 3 as ex officio members. They can participate in the discussion, but they don't count toward a quorum, and they cannot vote. So John Graber cannot vote, and Lois Bell cannot vote on the Veterans Commission because 3 council members sitting up here with me are not allowing them to be appointed as regular members. It's cut and dry, clear as can be, that that's what's taking place. And all I did was to ask you, as a team member, I asked you to please support the appointment of those 2 individuals, Lois Bell and John Graber. But you refused to support that because you're being vindictive and trying to block appointments to the commission. Everyone in the world and everyone in Carson can see that as clear as can be. So I don't really think we should go back and forth and drag this into the
Well, let's move on.
So I agree. Let's move on.
Well, no,
I have a
not.
statement.
We're going to move on because it's really
I
getting
have a statement.
ridiculous. Okay, the chair now recognizes Councilmember Davis Holmes for her statement.
First of all, Dr. Whitmore is ill, so he cannot participate. He has not been participating. Number 2, there's 11-member commission, so you're down to 9, so they can still function. They can still function. She allowed you to appoint ex officio. But my question to you is, when does the rest of the council get an opportunity to say, I'd like this commission on board? I'd like an ex officio member. It's all about you. There are other residents in the city of Carson that would like to serve other than the ones that you use for your political purposes. Okay? You added all these ex officios. You didn't ask. You didn't ask any of us, did we want to appoint a council person? A commissioner. It's all about what you want to do. So you're talking about team. There are other residents in the city other than the ones that you know that would like to serve on these commissions. And if you have an opportunity, it would be nice as the captain that you want to be to say, my colleagues, do you have anybody in mind you'd like to appoint, and appoint them uncontested. But we haven't had that since you've been sitting in that middle chair. And you're always going back saying the other mayor, Darrell Sweeney. You know, what is it with you and Darrell Sweeney? He's your worst nightmare. Darrell Sweeney's gone on with his life.
He's your political consultant.
He's gone, regardless of what he is, he's gone on with his life. He's not thinking about you.
Mike, you know it's true.
Okay, so give up on Darrell Sweeney and run this city, because Darrell Sweeney wouldn't be sitting up here doing what you're doing and trying to turn everything upside down to look as though you're the innocent little guy that's sitting, and you're not. You can't live up to Darrell Sweeney's shoelace. He went to jail, but Darrell Sweeney does not come to this city council, and he's living his life, which you should leave him alone and let him live. And just because the city loved Darrell Sweeney, oh well. And just because half of the residents don't love you, oh well. Leave the man alone, okay? You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. If you had a kid that got in trouble, you wouldn't throw him away. That's right. You wouldn't throw him out. You'd embrace him and say, you made a mistake. But you don't have kids, and so you don't know. So that's what I had to say. And Councilman Gibson, I think you're next in the queue. This is ridiculous. Dr. Whitmore, Lois Bell, and the other person are ex-official members. You're trying to pretend like we didn't do it. All the thing you're doing is keep adding and playing your little games.
Trying to build a wedge.
Exactly. Everybody you think that somebody's tied to, you want to appoint them and say, well, they're not going to allow you to appoint me. I can't appoint. That's your conversation all out in the community. It get back to us. We know what you're telling people. Well, they won't allow me to appoint you. But when you had 3 votes on this council, you never heard me and Councilman Gibson open our mouths about you. And it's not that she's a rubber stamp. She just doesn't agree with everything that you do.
That's right. A lot of things that
Please
I
note
don't know.
I don't like the rubber stamp talking. Okay, it's very interesting. I appointed Councilwoman Davis Holmes' husband. I appointed Dr. Boggs, Latrice Carter. I appointed a number of people who are not my political supporters in any way whatsoever. By doing that gracious move, all I got was disrespect,
Because respect,
vindictiveness,
you have to earn
and
respect.
nastiness from those individuals. So, you know, no one in their right mind is going to just continue to do the same thing. I appointed people that were supporters of all the different council members, recommended by all the different council members at different times, and I've done that. And so your words are quite false. They are not true, and that's the sadness of Carson at this point. And defending the former mayor because he's your political consultant in your run for mayor of Carson. And by the
City
way,
Attorney, may I call for the
that's kind of
question this
interesting
time?
because the councilwoman is spreading a rumor
I
that I'm
move
not
that
running for
we-
re-election,
I move
but I
that
am
we
running
stop
for re-election. And
debate.
yes, it is true. Daryl Sweeney is the political consultant for Lula Davis Homes. That's the fact. Well, I know it's a fact. Okay, at this point, we're going to go to Councilman Gibson.
You know, this is this is so embarrassing. It is totally embarrassing to have the mayor criticize and also insult his colleagues on the city council, and then not allow other council members to have the common courtesy to speak. And interrupting people. You're always talking about your comments are important. Let me finish, and then I'll turn it over to you. And you're not doing that. You're not being the example. And you know, this thing have gone too long. It's a wear and tear on this community. It's a wear and tear on staff. Each and every time, we need to get over this situation and move forward. And that's what we're not doing. And certainly, if you know, if the mayor pro tem chooses to vote whatever way she chooses to vote, then that's her. Same way as for myself and the other council members. And we don't need a label by the mayor trying to say that we are a rubber stamp for anyone else. Okay, simple as that. It's counterproductive. Okay, and yes, it is embarrassing state because the mayor is the one who's supposed to represent the city, and this is an embarrassing situation for you to represent this city in this kind of manner. This is not your classroom. You are not our teachers. We are grown adults. And I will expect you, sir, to act like one and not be childish when it comes down to you sitting in that middle chair with that gavel. And Mr. City Attorney, how do we take this gavel away from him? Because I'm sick and tired of him every time he doesn't get his way, he wants to use a gavel to try to silence people, just like he's cut people's microphones off. And that's the reason why this item is on the agenda before us today, is to making sure that my colleagues on this city council have their due right to speak on behalf of the people who voted for them in office. So my question is, how do we take the gavel? We already, I'm going to move that we, remove the mute button, because I was tired of being mute. I had to bring my own microphone to the city council and was going to use it. So how do we take the gavel? And again, and let me say this also, I think it's a bad state where we have to, as a council, whether it's the majority or not, have to remove the gavel because the mayor can't control himself.
City Attorney, to answer the question of Councilman Gibson.
The use of a gavel is completely optional. If the council doesn't want a gavel used, they can adopt a policy not to use one. So it would be an action of the council.
Thank you very much.
Okay, what's really, are you finished? Okay, all right. We tried to move the agenda, but then you started actually complaining that people call each other names, and then you started calling people names. You complain that the meeting goes too long, yet you keep talking and talking, repeating what was already said. It's very interesting how hypocrisy is very clear at this point, because it's not a matter of who talks. Councilman, please control yourself. Now, when you go on and on debating something and saying, don't do this, don't do that, and you are actually doing exactly what you're saying should not be done, that is a prime definition of hypocrisy. Let's go to Councilman Gibson now. I'm sorry, Councilman Gibson. Councilman Santorina now has the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor Gali. Number one is this total disrespect to the people of Carson. Total disservice to the people of Carson.
So why'd you walk out?
Okay, I am going to. Just a minute. Oh, okay. God, please help you. All right. The reason why it keeps on, the discussion keeps on like, back and forth like this, because an individual just couldn't stand what he or she would hear from one person. And then therefore you are, the anger is, you are fomenting anger. I'm not talking about you, but the person, individual. You see, if someone is talking like this, as if you have all the, you can, like you're explaining yourself, and when things come out of your mouth, it would sound like you are reasonably explaining yourself to be saying the truth. And then what happens is an individual, and I, for one in particular, I know what's going on, and of course I'm tempted to correct whatever erroneous statement you are saying, and that's how we are all engaging ourselves into unproductive discussion, especially if you people are calling each other, names, and, oh, let me do it this way, let me do it that way. Why can't we just come up with some respect in terms of listening first, and then when you say something, see, what really irks me a lot also is, I will repeat myself, like when you hear something from an individual, from a council member, or mayor or council member, and then it comes out like to be, because you quote it so much, and so good and so sweet, that at least, and now the people out there who are listening feels or thinks, the people think out there that you are telling the truth, but it's not. Okay, the rest of the agenda items are politically, I have read everything, are politically motivated, and therefore, since I said it already, it's a disrespect to the people of Carson. When you guys are composed, when you guys are reasonable, then I will be more than happy to serve you, each and everyone, and more than happy to serve the people of Carson. Thank you very much. Good night.
Councilman Santorini is leaving the room.
The items that are left will serve the majority.
Like they used to serve you.
Okay, we have a cue up from Mayor Pro Tem Reese Raver.
Thank you. First of all, I don't.
We should be finishing the item.
First of all, Councilman Gibson did not call any names, and all of you heard he did not call anyone names. But yet the mayor accused him of that, and that is not right.
Mr. City Attorney.
While we had our mics off, the mayor had the privilege to call me names, and that is not right. That is not right. He just called me the most ignorant council member in the history of Carson. That is not right. That is not right.
He said that about Lito.
He has no respect for his colleagues. Really, he has no respect for his colleagues, or maybe it's because I'm a woman. I don't know. I do not know. But that isn't right. I have never called him a name. Never. Not once. Because I don't believe in arguing my point that way. I do not believe that. I believe in sticking to the issue and your actions, but not ever to call someone a name, because that is disrespectful. The mayor is not getting his way. He's angry. He's upset. He's angry. I vote the way I believe is the right way to do, and I do not always agree with the mayor, and most of the time lately I have not been agreeing with him because he isn't right. I don't think he's right the way he treats us. I don't think it's right that he doesn't give us a chance to speak when we want to. I don't think it's right that he mutes us all the time. I don't think it's right that he bangs that gavel all the time. It's disrespectful to everyone here. So he's not getting his way. So he's throwing his little tantrum. He's throwing his little tantrum. And that is not a name calling. That's an action. That's actions. So he is misleading the public out there because he has the microphone most of the time. We don't have a right to speak our piece. And it isn't right. I believe in respecting others and respecting my colleagues, and respect has to earn respect. So let's move on now. Thank you.
Okay, it's a very interesting tirade out of the Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, I did say that she was the most ignorant council person in the history of Carson, and I apologize for saying that. I did say it to her right after I said to her, Julie, why don't you be more independent in your voting? She then turned to me and said, shut up.
Yes, I did.
So when she said shut up to me, I knew that she had digressed to a low enough level that the only thing she could understand is, for someone to say, you're acting ignorant. So I told her that she acted ignorant, and I admit that. I take responsibility. But, the truth hurts. When the truth
I'm not
comes
hurt.
forward, it really hurts.
I'm not
But
hurt.
that is the situation.
I'm not hurt.
And as about the gavel, the reason the gavel is put down is only when a council member is interrupting another member of the city council. That's when the gavel is used to stop people from interrupting. All we look for is to be civil and to let someone finish what they have to say, whether you agree or disagree with what they have to say. But I think the people watching this on television can see that this free majority council has digressed to the level of personality and personal vindictiveness. Instead of voting on the agenda item and the merits of the item alone, they're voting as a block. And I've explained it at least twice, and I can do it a third time. The only thing I was attempting to do was to fill 2 vacancies in the Veterans Commission with John Graber and Loris Bell. Now, I talked to Dr. James Whitmer on the phone today. I wasn't able to get hold of John Marcellin, unfortunately. I did try to reach him in both phone numbers. Talking to Dr. Whitmore, he explained to me he is unable to attend the meetings, but he does want to be an ex officio member. So I made him an ex officio member with no help from my friends, so to speak, on the city council. And it's as clear as can be. It's digressed into a personal vindictiveness and revenge against the mayor and revenge against the people of Carson. It's absurd. It's just crazy. Okay, so let's move on and not go back and forth, back and forth.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay, something we agree on. Very good. Okay, let's go to item number 17. This is considered disabling the mute button, which is an on-off switch for the people who are unaware of it. It turns off microphones except for the presiding officer's microphone. So it's mute button technology used by the presiding officer during meetings held by the city council. So a brief staff report, Mr. Big.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just if you could just note for the record that we did remove item 16 unless I missed it earlier.
Well,
Okay, just for the public.
yeah, I had it
Mr.
crossed out because you had requested to be removed.
Yes.
So for the record, Madam Clerk, item 16 has been removed. It's consideration of funding a scholarship for California State University Dominguez Hills student. So that was removed by the city manager. Okay, we're still on item 17 though. So brief staff report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is on your agenda at the request of a council member. Earlier was a reference to direction to disable the mute button on the council dais, which has been a topic of some discussion, and so that type of action would require direction from the council as a whole. We'd like you to consider and provide direction on that, with alternatives being to eliminate the use of the muting technology or take any other action that the council might deem appropriate.
Okay, we have public comment. Is there public comment on this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have 2 speaker cards on that item.
Let's start with Dr. Rita Boggs.
Mayor, dear members of the City Council, I don't know even where to begin. Having seen what has happened tonight, it's as if, where do I start? Yes, I'm in favor of eliminating the mute button, definitely. It's terribly unfortunate that our City Council has come to this. There was, and it was mentioned early on tonight, the whole thing of having mutual respect for one another and all that sort of thing, and it's just, excuse the expression, gone to hell tonight. It was totally ignored. And but in any case, it has been very discouraging to be sitting here listening to this, waiting hours just to speak on one of the items and having this ongoing battle. And of course, I think I know the solution to it, but you can't do it in one night. So anyway, but please do what you can to get this thing moving, and so the thing is finished. Yeah, we talk about serving the people, and yet the meetings go until 2 in the morning. The contentious things, the things that are going to be questioned, don't get heard until 2 in the morning. So as a result, we talk about service to the city and the residents. All those decisions are made when the residents aren't here. So, let's stop fighting and start addressing the needs of the residents. Thank you.
The next speaker is Roland Shimakaji. Is he present? Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, can you reset the clock for me, please? Thank you. I just have a couple of brief comments. And I would hesitate spending the additional money to change the technology, because every time the technology in the city council chambers is somehow altered, things happen. I don't know if it's gremlins but what I suggest is the city attorney consider an ethics boot camp for elected and appointed officials, and that we hold it as soon as possible. I think that, as I had mentioned before under oral communication, there needs to be a serious look at Section 2450 of the Carson Municipal Code. There also needs to be consideration of the creation of an elected ethics panel. And in the future, I will be more specific as to the reasons why I think we need an elected ethics panel in the city of Carson. And hopefully, I can convince a majority of the city council to at least consider it. I saw the cost of removing the muting technology, and as in a previous council item, I don't feel comfortable spending any extra money tampering with the technology in these chambers. So I've given you my opinion, and I hopefully we can move forward from here. Thank you.
The next speaker is Miriam Vasquez.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Good evening, staff. I was just leaving when I saw Mr. Lito Santarina left. And I asked him what's going on. And he told me about it. He left, the council left very upset. And I'm very disappointed to hear what's going on here in the chamber. When are you guys are going to grow up? You're supposed to be ladies and you're supposed to be gentlemen to represent the people cousin. When are you going to conduct yourself about? Early was Eileen Harris complaining about somebody was against her online when there was a voting for the delegation to the Democratic Convention, and somebody was scratching her face and was, come on, if you were running for something and you think you're good about it, show it. You don't need to do all those bad manners, bad education. have a personality. If you're good about what you're doing, you don't need to be doing other stuff. You have to respect yourself and respect others. Treat others like they say in the Bible. Treat others like you want to be treated. God said that. And you have to respect the mayor. He's higher in position than you guys. He's the one who makes the decisions for the city of Carson. That's the city manager and that's the city attorney. That's what they get paid for, and a lot of money. You're supposed to be representing the people. Start doing your job. Stop that fighting. You make use of the funds of the people's money. So you have to start respecting the residents of Carson too. And I know my time is up. So I think you're old enough. You're even grandmothers. Start giving a good example to your grandchildren and respect the mayor and respect the city manager and respect the city attorney and respect the city of Carson that put you over there. If you feel good at what you're doing, you don't need to use nothing else but the tools of yourself. And that's it. Good night.
Yes, I'd just like to make a comment.
Okay.
The mayor does not run the city. It's five bodies that run the city.
The chair recognizes
It's not just the
Councilwoman
mayor that
Davis
makes all
Holmes
the-
next. Go ahead,
It's
Councilwoman
not the
Davis
mayor
Holmes.
that makes the decisions in the city council and this about the city. It's 5 elected officials. If the residents only wanted one person, they wouldn't have 5 elected officials here. He just happens to be the facilitator. Elected as the mayor, takes 3 votes to get anything done in this city. It's 5 elected people. 5.
Okay.
And we do not listen to the
Excuse
mayor.
me.
Okay.
Patrick?
I know you are
Ms.
talking.
Vasquez,
Excuse me.
Ms.
I know.
Vasquez, you cannot come back up because this is not a dialogue like this is not allowed. Sorry. Councilwoman Davis Holmes, are you complete? Okay. The next speaker is William Davis.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council. Everything, you all need to work together. You know, it's not right. You know some veterans, put their names in for it. That's very good. But to sit there and take a vote and not vote for a veteran, that's not right. We've all fought for our country, for our freedom and yours. So if you know somebody's a veteran, put their name in and take a vote on it. Put them on the City Council or put them on the Veterans Council. That's no problem. But I go home and I sit on the computer and I see everybody fight for no reason. It's not right. And it just burns me up. Because if it wasn't for somebody like me, you wouldn't be where you are now. Not because we voted for you, because it's for your freedom. And it's a hell of a price to pay. And I'm not dying for my country. And it's a lot of work. And people say, I have PTSD? Yeah, I do. I got it 22 years ago from Desert Storm. And I haven't been reprogrammed. Everybody says, well, you're a convict. I'm not a convict. I'm just crazy. I think like the enemy. But if they come to City Carson to take over the City Carson, I got to think like they do. And you be pulling on my shirt tail to save your hide. And I will do it. But we need more veterans to help everybody else. Because it's a hell of a price to pay. Thank you.
I have something to say.
Okay, the chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem.
My husband is a veteran. My brothers were World War II veterans. My sisters, all 6 of us, there were 7 of us, 6 of us married veterans. No one can say that we don't support veterans. All we did tonight was vote not to take the commissions off the table. That's all. Because we have our reasons. I said the reason was I want to speak the chair of the commission, of the Veterans Commission, and I want to speak to these 2 or 3 people that the mayor has requested. That's all. That's all.
Yeah, but somebody else said.
But they make it look, the mayor makes it look like we're voting against them. We're not.
No. Lula Davis
That's
Holmes
not.
says that she said no on it because she knows some veterans. If she knows some veterans, put their name in, take a vote on it, put them on the board. That's fine. Everybody's happy about it. I have no problem with that.
But anyway, I just wanted to clarify what the vote
Let's
was
sit up here
tonight, and I wanted to just
over
make
veteran
sure.
and disrespect.
Mr. Davis, we can't allow the
I
document.
just,
because
I
it's
just
not
wanted
that
to
type
make
of-
sure
it's not a
that
town hall.
everyone knows
I'm
that
sorry.
my husband is an 8-year veteran. My brothers were in World War II. My sisters all married airmen and other veterans, other, the branches of the service. So we are all we have a love for veterans. So I just want to make that very clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. The topic of discussion on this agenda item is the
mute
switch
button.
called the mute button. Okay. So if you want to talk about veterans issues, that was the last item, but you can talk about it on oral communication if you want to. But, if you say that you support veterans, show it. Okay.
You don't
Mr. City
support the
Attorney,
service.
excuse me. Mr. City Attorney, would you explain to Pro Tem Reese Raber that by not allowing it to come off the table, you're stopping it
We're
from
not
taking
talking
place?
about that now, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor.
Mr. City Attorney, it's a procedural question on parliamentary procedure
Talking about
because
that now.
the councilwoman doesn't understand. Okay, in parliamentary procedure, let me give you a prelude here. In parliamentary procedure, if you make a motion to table something, that is an action to kill it because it stops any debate on it, it stops any action whatsoever, and it moves it to a table file. In order for you as a body, a legislative body, to take up that item in the future, you've got to take it off the table for discussion. By not allowing it to come off the table, there's no debate, there's no discussion, there's no exchange of ideas, and there's no action whatsoever. So, Mr. City Attorney, would you explain on a technical basis only, and ignore the interruptions from the two councilwomen that are constant tonight, just explain what it means when you table a motion and what it means if you try to take it off the table.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
City Attorney, I asked you a direct
I did not
question.
ask
Please
for that
answer my question.
clarification.
Point of clarification.
City Attorney, I do not need that clarification. I know what it is. Please.
Okay, ladies, please stop interrupting the city attorney. He's not even started to speak yet. Okay. Just answer the basic question of parliamentary procedure.
I will. Under our municipal code, a motion to lay an item on the table places the item in a suspense, meaning no action will be taken on the item, no action will be based on the item, and it allows the item to remain in its suspended form until a majority of the council
Okay.
is inclined to take the item back up.
Exactly.
And the item can be taken back up either by a motion of the council or by a subsequent item that comes back on future agendas.
That's exactly what we said.
Okay.
Thank you.
You better provide that to her in writing and then read it to her. She doesn't
I
get
think
it.
you need
Let's go to the next
That was
speaker,
uncalled for.
Milla Boyer.
Good evening again to everybody. I find this council very intriguing in a way that I cannot understand where both of you, the mayor, the councilmen, are going. So, election is very far. Still, you have all the time. What you have to do is serve the community, serve the city.
Exactly.
Let us forget all our hidden agenda. Every one of you must have its own hidden agenda. This is not the time for it. This is a time to think what is good for everybody. You see, every time I just want to be here to listen, to watch, and to let the agenda be discussed and some way approve or disapprove, but I never intend to listen to this kind of things that are going on in here. I am already part of Carson, and I want all good things for Carson. Now, respect begets respect. Love begets love. Give each one of you a time to say, but do not prolong. It's very hard on the part of the audience to be listening to a prolonged discussion, and in the end, you have not reached to a point where you have to agree or disagree. If you don't want, say so outright. And if you want something to be approved, say so. Do not prolong it, because people are watching you on TV, and I don't know, I myself is sometimes disgusted on what things are going on. So please do it for the people of Carson. I hope you will do it for us, for everybody. For election is still far. You may not know that you will be on board again the next year or the following year. You may not know that everybody would be out except for the two who were just re-elected. So please do it for us. Do it for everybody. Let us not be discussing things repeatedly. You are very repetitive of a thing that is not to be done, so do it for everybody. The mayor is there, respect the mayor, and so the mayor, respect also the councilmen, so that, as I have said, respect begets respect.
That's right.
So, okay, please, for all of us, don't quarrel. This is an assembly, not for anybody to be quarreling. Thank you so much.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, are there any other requests from the public to speak under this agenda item number 17?
No more speaker cards on item 17.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Okay, we're now going to go to council deliberation. We have a first queue up from Councilman Gibson.
Thank you very much. I would like to move that we eliminate the use of the mute technology from the dais.
Second.
There's a second. Okay. Motion by Councilman Gibson, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Reese Raber, to remove the mute switch from the dais. Okay?
Mr. Mayor.
We're now going to go to Councilwoman Reese Raber. That's just for your second.
No, it's not.
No, I'm asking Councilwoman Reese Raber. Are you want to talk? Because you're queued up.
That's my,
You're
I
seconding?
seconded the motion,
Okay, let's
but
go
I
to
do want
Councilwoman-
to speak.
That's what I was asking.
Well, I'm telling you. Thank you. You've got to listen. Anyway, I'd like to say, first of all, that because I believe in transparency, that's one of the reasons why I'd like to have that mute button removed. I believe that all the public has every right to come up and speak and say what they have to say. I believe in freedom of speech. And I believe that every council member up here has a right to say what they have to say. But they don't have a right to call each other names. That I do not believe. I never have believed in that, and I will not believe that, ever. First of all, like I said, I believe in freedom of speech in every direction. In the past, I could not tell when the mute button was being used on the public, but I know that there were some complaints of people saying they were muted. Up here, it's hard for me to hear when it's done, but it has been done, according to these people. I became more aware of it when my colleagues were being muted. Up here, you can tell when they're muted, for my colleagues. And that isn't right. They should have as much say as the mayor to defend themselves or to speak out. Thirdly, in the past 4 months, I have been muted repetitively. As a matter of fact, more than once at one meeting. And I can tell that when I'm speaking up here, and then I watch the meetings afterwards. I always watch the meetings the day after, and I can tell then what's happening. And it isn't right when I'm trying to make my point and it gets muted. And then when I'm told that I'm going to be speaking because maybe I'm speaking out of turn, I'm told that I'm going to be able to speak because I have something very important to say. When it gets time for me to do it, the meeting is adjourned and bang, it's out and I don't have a right to say anything. But I really believe that the mute button is not a necessity. Other council chambers don't have this, and I've spoken to a lot of councilmen, and they can't believe that a mayor has muted his colleagues or anyone. So I think it has been abused, and if it's been abused, it's got to go. It isn't right. That is not freedom of speech. We need to have points of view from all people, not just one side. Everyone has a point of view, and it needs to be heard, whether anyone agrees with it or not. It has to. You have to have the freedom of speech. That's the American way. And so, for that reason, I think the mute button has got to go. We do not need it. No one needs to be muted. We're all adults, and if we can't say what we have to say, then it just isn't America. No one can stop us from saying the things that our veterans have fought for. Freedom of speech, freedom. Our veterans have died for that. And for someone to sit up here and mute his colleagues because he doesn't like what we're saying or because he doesn't want anybody to hear the truth, only his truth, which is really not the truth half the time. And that's why we have to defend ourselves. So that's the reason why I agree with getting the mute button out. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Councilmember Davis Holmes.
Thank you. I think the district attorney summed this up the last time we sent it through, and I commend my colleague, the Mayor Pro Tem, for voting, saying that she wants to take it off, because I can remember when she was trying to give the mayor the benefit of the doubt, and it was put back in, but she's seen for herself how it works. I would also like to include in this motion a friendly amendment that the queuing up system be programmed into the system so it stays up permanently. We sit up here on this dais and we don't know who's on the queue, just like our mayor walked in after we had convened this meeting, after he adjourned. I was the next in the queue up, but it didn't show up on my monitor. But if it's up permanently, we know who's next in the queuing up system. It's unfortunate that we have to have these type of rules, but I'd like to see who's next to speak in the system, and it shows up on my monitor at all times so that I can see it. I know it goes in and out, and I know the mayor has it over on his side, but whatever he sees, I'd like to see. We're all adults here, and sometimes who's next in the system kind of disappears because he controls it. So I'd like to have it on my monitor at all times. That would be my friendly substitute motion, if it's okay.
Okay, with a friendly substitute motion,
we've had this
interesting substitute motion. Is that a second?
Yes.
Okay. Now we have a substitute motion on the floor. We're on debate of the substitute motion. Let's go to Councilman. Are you complete?
Friendly amendment to his motion.
A friendly amendment. Okay. I think that's kind of relevant to what we're saying. Mr. City Attorney, is it legally relevant to the agenda item or not?
As I understand the motion, the motion is to eliminate the muting technology and to further adjust the technology to require that the queue show on the monitors
at all
times. I think that's
close enough,
broadly
I think.
within the scope.
So as the presiding officer, I'll rule that that's acceptable, unless there's an objection. Hearing no objection, then we'll consider that as part of the motion. Okay, now that we're on the amended motion, because it was a friendly amendment, it was accepted by the maker of the motion. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And the seconder?
Yes.
Correct? Okay. All right, so now we're on the amended motion. So, Councilman Gibson, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. If we can have Mr. Eggleston to please come forward through the city manager.
Yeah, let's go
I
to
have
the city
a question.
manager.
Certainly, our information technology manager, Robert Eggleston.
Thank you very much. I have a question for you, Mr. Eggleston. Is this technology in such a way when I hit the request to speak button, it automatically places me in a queue? And so when the speaker that's speaking and I'm the next person, would it automatically, or there's a technology such where it automatically allows me to speak instead of being recognized? This would be my recognition to speak. Do you follow? Do you understand the question?
Could you answer that question?
If I understand the question correctly, is that,
I don't know if I was saying it correctly, but
yeah,
thank you.
I understand exactly. So what you're saying is that does the system automatically allows you to speak? You can speak anytime, to be honest with you, the way the system works. It's just that he recognized the speakers, and that's the way the process works. So what you're saying is that does the system cut on your mic and start having you to speak? No, it does not do that. But your mic is already on.
Okay.
You can speak anytime, basically.
Okay, but could it be programmed to do that?
That's something we have to definitely research.
Okay.
We have to research that.
Okay. That's that's it for me. Thank you.
All right. What's interesting about this mute button is the district attorney of Los Angeles County, wrote us a letter about not using the mute button. So what he didn't realize was that his own budget controlling legislative body, the Board of Supervisors of the Los Angeles County, utilizes the mute button, as well as the City of Los Angeles and the City of Long Beach and LA Unified School District. Matter of fact, they not only have a mute button, they have a couple of flags that pop up. The mute button is used for this purpose. If someone were to be using profanity, because this is on television and children could be watching the television show on Channel 35, or it's on the internet around the world. So profanity, yes, I would switch off the microphone if a person starts a tirade of profanity. Second reason I would switch off the microphone as the presiding officer of Los Angeles City, Los Angeles County, Long Beach, LA Unified School District, and many cities around LA County, though not all. The second reason, of course, would be if someone is using racial slurs and using that type of extremely mean and gross, racist and bigoted words. Okay? So that would be the second occasion. The third occasion would be if a person goes over their time and they refuse to stop talking at the podium. Not council members, of course. Council members can talk as long as they want, but in fact they've been known to filibuster in this city. So actually now there are four reasons. The fourth reason is if one of my colleagues is interrupting another one of the colleague. Now, because the district attorney said I should not do that, the district attorney said I should use two other tools as the presiding officer chosen by the people of Carson as their mayor. I should use the gavel to bring order to the chambers and to send the message to my colleagues who frequently interrupt one another to stop interrupting one another. That's the other reason. Now, if a person's at the podium, refuses to leave, District Attorney Cooley's office says, well, don't use this, turn off the switch, don't use the mute button. Ask the Sergeant at Arms of this meeting, which happens to be LA County Deputy Sheriff Ed Matsumoto, or maybe another sheriff if he's not here, but he's always here and very hardworking, to come to the podium and escort the person away. And that has happened on occasion. We try not to do that. We try not to do that if we can help it, but sometimes it has to be done. So all I'm asking is for my colleagues to not act out of order and to not be rude and not be disrespectful. That's when I use this gavel. And anyone reviewing the tapes, and I ask people to look at the tapes, the gavel is used to open or close a meeting. That's normal standard operating procedure. It is also used to quell down people that are out of order. And I don't say the person is out of order, their actions are out of order. And there's a difference. So that's when the gavel is used, and the mute button would be used only in those circumstances. But if you notice, I have switched to using the gavel instead of the mute button. So that's why it's done. I think the $750 would be wasted. Not a lot of money, but it's wasted money. And we don't need to waste money in this budget deficit situation to have the mute button removed, because it is a tool that is used by the presiding officer when necessary. Don't use a mute button except for under the circumstances that I just explained in detail. It's not used when someone's saying something I don't like, as I'm accused of. It's used if a person is speaking over, yelling over, out of control, and interrupting and trying to talk over the person who has the floor. Only one person has the floor at a time. That's a proper professional meeting. And if you're interrupting the person when they have the floor, then the gavel or the mute button might be used in that circumstance. But it's not used in any other circumstance. Look at the council meetings over the past 12 months or so, and you'll see that to be clear. Or maybe it was 18 months since the district attorney came up with his ideas. Okay, so let's vote on the motion.
Excuse me.
Yes?
I'm in the queue.
Oh, you queued. Okay, Councilman Gibson queued up again. I'm sorry, he popped up when he added his name again. So, Councilman Gibson, you have the floor, and no one else does.
Thank you very much. I need the city attorney to give me some clarification regarding the Constitution and the Constitution that reads freedom of speech and freedom of expression, and what a member of the public can say when coming to the microphone under their 3 minutes, because I thought I heard that that was said that if someone wants to use profanity, use something derogatory, even though that I certainly am totally against it, but what can or cannot, or cannot a member of the public say in their 3 minutes when they come up to the microphone? Can you just please, for my edification, I just need help.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Well, there's my opinion and there's the district attorney's opinion. The district attorney's opinion is they can say whatever they want. Defamatory, profanity, vulgarity, you name it. Our rule used to be that they need to address the body as a group and not individual council members, and they need to address an item that's within the subject matter jurisdiction of the legislative body. So between those two parameters, the rule that we've followed is, without agreeing with the district attorney's opinion, we have taken the position since his letter came out that you can say pretty much anything you want in your 3 minutes. And if you want to use offensive and vulgar language, you can probably do that. And actually, the Brown Act, the public comment portion of the Brown Act does say that defamatory statements can be included in oral communications. That doesn't mean those statements aren't actionable. They just can't be censored.
Thank you. So someone can say whatever they want to say, regardless if this council creates either SMP or an ordinance or whatever, a resolution saying that a person coming to the microphone to say whatever they want to address to the city council, they have to say it in a certain manner. So are you saying that our SMP dictates how a member of the public addresses his body?
Not anymore. We used to have a municipal code provision that talked in broad general terms about public oral communication protocol, but we've repealed all of that in light of the district attorney's opinion.
So a member of the public can come to the microphone and say whatever they want to say,
Whatever they want to say.
Even if we disagree vehemently.
Yes, indeed.
They still have under 3 minutes, and they should not be muted, and that should be the same for the council members. Am I correct?
That is the district attorney's position, yes, sir.
Okay. Again, when we talk about waste of money, I think that the people of the city of Carson voted for who they choose to represent them, and I believe that members on the city council got that support by the voters casting their vote, numbers being tabulated, and it is what it is. And so certainly we should be able to say anything that we choose to say by that particular right, and it should not be muted. And that's one of the reasons why I'm supporting this mute button, because I believe it has, in fact, not served this dais or served the members of this city council in a way that is equitable and just. And so I think that, again, that this is the prudent way. Hopefully that we can, at some point in life, restore it back or whatever. But at this point in time, I think that we need to eliminate it completely. Thank you.
I have a question for Mr. Eggleston through the city manager.
I think I'm queued up.
Mr. Eggleston, please come forward. And while Mr. Eggleston's walking up, I do have a statement. Again, I do not mute or even use the gavel if a council member is talking while they have the floor. While they have the floor, they can talk as long as they want. They can say whatever they want, agree or disagree with what they have to say. That's how I run this meeting. I run this meeting very professionally, with great respect to all of my colleagues. Now, if they choose to interpret something differently, you can't really, say they misinterpreted it wrong. Maybe they are interpreting it wrong, but that's their personal opinion and interpretation. So we have transparency, and the gavel's only used, or the mute button's only used, if a person does not have the floor and they're interrupting a speaker. If you have the floor, then you can say whatever you want as long as you want to. Now, as far as the legality of this, and this is, I'm getting to a question I'm going to pose to Mr. Eggleston. Yes, a member of the public can come to the podium, according to the District Attorney of Los Angeles County, and say virtually anything he or she wants to say. Vulgarities, slander, defamation of character, complete false lies. They could start advertising their business. They could advertise the politics. They can say anything they want, according to the District Attorney. Now, we as elected officials, of the 5 elected officials, the mayor and the 4 council members, we are required by Brown Act to listen to that person, no matter what they say. But we are not required to amplify their voice electronically. And we're not required to put their speech on television. There's nothing in the Brown Act that says we have to do that. So I would make a suggestion to my 3 colleagues. If you haven't already made up your mind before the council meeting started tonight, okay? If you haven't made up your mind, consider this. What about eliminating the mute button for the staff and the dais? But the mute button would apply only to the podium. Because I will tell you, if a person gets up there and starts using racial slurs, profanity and vulgar or very gross language, with the clear intention of any reasonable man or woman to incite pain and grief on other people, I would like the ability to turn off that microphone. Because that person's speech should not go over the air, it should not be broadcast through the internet around the world or on television. So that would be a compromise. And I'd like my 3 colleagues to consider that, if anyone's willing to.
I would like to say something.
Okay, the chair recognizes Mayor Pro Tem Reese-Rigg.
I think that we just need to get rid of the button, and I'll tell you why. We have a sheriff department, a sheriff sitting back there, and anybody who goes over the time or uses any profanity, all he needs to do is come up here and remove this person from standing right there. That's all we need. We do not need a mute button anywhere. I don't believe in stopping anybody, and we don't want to hear any vulgarity. That has never happened here. Not as long as I've been sitting on this city council. I've never heard any real vulgarity. And we have a sheriff back there, and I've seen them remove people from speaking right here when they've gone over their time, or if they're abusing or whatever they're doing. That's what they're there for, to keep order. So that's my opinion. I still believe in freedom of speech. So.
Okay.
And I'm not through yet. And it's a shame that we've had to come to this point, because this mute button has been there, and I had supported it in the past, but it has been abused. And that's the only reason why I think it needs to go. It has been abused. And other city councils don't have, some of them don't have, most of them don't have a mute button. They don't need it. Why should we? And cities like Los Angeles, my gosh, that's a huge city. We're just we're under 100,000 people. We are not the supervisors and all of that. We are a small town, under 100,000 people, and I think that as far as order is concerned, I've watched some of the planning commission meetings, and I've watched some of the mobile home review boards, and really they are so orderly. They don't have a mute button, and their meetings don't run until 4 o'clock in the morning. They know how to run a meeting. Their chairpersons know how to run a meeting. If you know how to run a meeting, it doesn't need to go any further than what your business that you have here. And as long as you treat each other with respect, it will not go on. The meeting, if we just stick to the business and that's it, we can get through it. But we do not need a mute button anywhere, because we do have a sheriff standing back there who can easily remove the person who is out of order. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Councilwoman Holmes, but I would like the question answered from Mr. Eggleston about, is it possible to mute just that microphone, and also from the city attorney as to comments from the district attorney's office as far as removing people from meetings. After Councilwoman Davis Holmes speaks. You have the floor, Councilwoman.
Yeah, I think the whole issue of this mute button is who controls it, and that's where the problem is coming in. And the only way I would agree to keeping it if it was taken out of the mayor's hand. Okay, and I think that's what the problem is selectively used, and I know that I've been muted because you didn't want to hear what I was saying. Mayor Pro Tem has been muted, Mike has been muted, that other person that left the meeting that's been voting with you lately, he's the only one sitting up here, hasn't been muted. But that's the only way I would agree, and because I think it should go. But if it was taken out of your hand, then I could see it, if it was something vulgar, that the city clerk or someone had the authority. But you using your discretion, I've seen you mute people because you didn't like what they were saying about you. You know, and the mute button went on. So that's what I have to say about it. I'm inclined to remove it also because of what our district attorney said, and we've been back and forth on this, and it gets worse. It comes back when it's just disrespectful to our residents. So you're elected for this position, you got to let it roll off your back. That's what I was told. Let it roll off your back.
Okay, let's go to what we actually, Councilman Gibson, I think, is coming back, so maybe we'll wait for a moment. While he's out, well, I'm sorry to say that, Councilwoman, what you said was not true, because the mute button was not used in any circumstance except when the person speaking didn't have the floor. It's not a matter if you like what they're saying or not, but when you're yelling over someone, really no one's listening to you anyway. So it's kind of a, pardon the pun, a moot point.
So what gives you the right to mute any of us?
And so when someone has the floor, and if you notice in this council meeting, not just tonight, but every night, when a person has the floor, they can talk as long as they want and say whatever they want when they're on the dais. And that's how it works. And people can see that, despite the little attempts to twist the truth and the little attempts to try to persuade people that something's taking place that's not taking place. You can see that I let every person who's on the city council speak as long as they want, say whatever they want, when they have the floor. It's crystal clear. Everyone can see that. It's exactly what takes place, despite attempts by some members of the council. And we're talking about respect tonight. And Councilwoman Holmes, you referred to the person that left the meeting. His name is Councilman Elito Santorina. So it was very disrespectful of you to refer to him as the person that left the meeting like he was nothing. So please practice what you preach. Let's go ahead and vote on this amended motion to remove the mute button. Please cast your vote. And we have 3 yes votes, Mayor Pro Tem Reese Raber, Councilman Gibson, and Councilwoman Davis Holmes. 1 no vote by Mayor Deere, and then not voting due to not being present at the moment. It's Councilman Santorina. Elito Santorina is his name. Okay. Now, we're going to go to the next agenda item.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Madam City Clerk.
can you do a roll call for the electronic system?
Yes,
Thank you.
please indicate your presence electronically to my colleagues.